Okay guys, so I'm just going to run through some editing of fonts using Illustrator this time, because Illustrator is a really good tool for this job. So you may well have a go in Illustrator, and you may well have a go did I just say Illustrator? You may have a go in Photoshop and in Illustrator. That's what I'm trying to say. So we can work with the type tool. So again, if we were going to be working with fonts and we're thinking about editing the actual shape of the fonts, the actual letter forms themselves, then Illustrator is really good for that kind of job. So let's just say we're going to do a P for personal investigation. I'm going to do this sort of letter by letter. One of the first things that we can think about in terms of editing a font in Illustrator is just grabbing the boundary box around it and just editing it just by pulling on these edges. So we can change the shape of the letter sort of overall. The overall shape can be edited in lots of different ways just by pulling on it. If we wanted to let's just say we had a whole word like personal and we wanted just to make it bigger but without changing the shape of it, if we hold shift down, then we can obviously pull on that boundary box and we can make it bigger or smaller, and we just hold shift down and then it stays in proportion. So that's just something to bear in mind. But let's say, for example, we wanted to edit this font. So I'm just going to make it a little bit sort of wider, but we want to be more particular about it. So let's say we want to make this a little bit thinner, let's say, or maybe we want to put some angles on the edges. We want to change it. We want to use this as a base, but we want to make some changes to it. To do that, I'm going to select the letter using the select tool, and I'm going to use the type menu and I'm going to create outlines. Now what that does is makes Illustrator stop thinking about it as a piece of type, so we can't change spelling if we're working with whole words, so we need to check we've spelt it right. But what it does mean is that we can edit it like a path, so it's turned it into a path basically. So you can see that, well, partly because when I hover my mouse over it, it says path, and because we've got all these anchor points, and we know from previously working with our shape tools and working with the path tool, the pen tool, that we can edit these anchor points, can't we? So we can select which ones we want to edit. So let's say we wanted to take just this one. I can use my mouse and I can just sort of pull and do things to it. If I want to do something like that, that might be what I wanted to do. I'm going to Control Z. I might want to, let's say, for example, select more than one. So I'm going to hold Shift down to select a number. I'm going to use my keys on my keyboard, my arrows, and I'm just going to pull two of those together, for example. Let's say we actually wanted this to be thinner. I'm going to select these four and I'm going to pull this using my arrows on my keyboard towards here. Okay, so we can start being a little bit playful and start playing around with bits and making some changes informed by our ideas. So being able to work with an existing font might work out for some of you. And being able to work with the pen tool. In order to add anchor points, you need to make sure that in your window you have your toolbar set to advanced, okay? And then when you are working with your pen tool, you've got the option to add or delete anchor points. So if I wanted to add a point, for example, here, and do something with it, then obviously I can. Remember that we've got the option to change anchor points to either a corner, which is a harsh sort of sharp, or a smooth, which gives us then the handle that gives us the curve. So remember that we can make changes as we wish. Okay, so we can edit fonts, existing fonts, by working with the type create outlines. So that's something to bear in mind and to think about. One of the other things we can do, obviously, working in Illustrator, is we can work with this pen tool to create a path of our own. So let's say that we want to make let's say a letter L for personal investigation. Now, obviously, this is looking a bit confusing because I have my fill on black and my stroke is on nothing at the moment. Oh, let me do that. Put on here. Do you know what? I'm going to keep that. That's a nice L. We'll keep it like that. Let's say, for example, I actually wanted it to just be an outline.